There is a kind of joy that knows it must stay hidden. You have felt it. That moment when God finally moves, when the door you've been knocking on for years swings open without warning, when the provision arrives that you stopped expecting, when the number on the screen is real, and it's yours. And something deep inside you, something older than your excitement, whispers a single word before you can even celebrate. Quiet, not because God is ashamed of blessing you, but because the same heaven that opened that door knows there is an enemy standing in the hallway, waiting to see your face the moment you smile. And he is not waiting to congratulate you. He is waiting to take notes. If you've ever wondered why the blessings you announced so loudly somehow slipped through your fingers while the ones you held in silence multiplied, then sit with me for a few minutes. Because this is not about being secretive. It's about being sacred. And by the time we're done, you'll understand why the quietest seasons of your life were never God ignoring you. They were God protecting what he was building. My name is George, and I've spent years watching this exact pattern play out in my own life, and in the lives of people I've walked beside. The ones who guarded what God gave them, kept it. The ones who broadcast it, lost it. Not always to thieves with weapons, sometimes to the slow drip of envy, of opinions, of voices that meant well, but carried something that didn't belong anywhere near your harvest. So let me ask you the question that the rest of this message is going to answer. Why does money that comes from God so often arrive wrapped in a command to stay silent? Let's go and find out. There's a story in the book of Genesis that almost nobody preaches on the way I'm about to tell it. It's the story of Isaac. Now, Isaac doesn't get the headlines that his father Abraham gets, or the drama that his son Jacob gets. Isaac is the quiet one, the middle generation, the one who mostly just stayed where God told him to stay and did what God told him to do. And here's what happened. There was a famine in the land, a real one, the kind where people pack up everything and move somewhere else just to survive. And Isaac's first instinct was to do what everyone else was doing, head down to Egypt, where the food was. But God stopped him. God said, "Don't go down there. Stay here, in the middle of the famine, in the place where there's nothing." Think about that for a second. God told a man to plant in the middle of a drought, to sow seed in ground that everyone else had given up on. And Isaac obeyed. He stayed. He planted. And the Bible says that in that same year, in that same famine, in that same dried-out land that wasn't supposed to produce anything, Isaac reaped 100-fold. 100 times what he planted. While everyone else was starving, this man was overflowing. And here's what most people miss. The Bible says he became great. And he grew until he became very great. The blessing didn't just come. It kept coming. It compounded. The man who stayed quiet in the famine became the wealthiest person in the entire region. But watch what happened next. Because this is the part that matters for you today. The people around him, the ones who had watched him prosper, while they struggled, they didn't celebrate him. They envied him. The Bible says the Philistines envied him. And one by one, they came and filled in his wells. The wells his father had dug, the wells that gave life. They stopped them up with dirt, just to take from him what he had. Not because they needed those wells, but because they couldn't stand to see him have them. That's the enemy's pattern. He doesn't always come to destroy you because he needs what you have. He comes because he cannot tolerate that you have it. Envy doesn't make sense. It's not logical. A man with his own water doesn't need to fill in your well unless something inside him would rather see you dry than see you blessed. And here is the spiritual truth underneath all of this. The moment your provision becomes visible, it becomes a target. Now I want to be careful here, because I don't want you to walk away from this thinking God wants you to live in fear, hiding everything, suspicious of everyone. That's not it. That's not faith. That's anxiety wearing a religious costume. What I'm telling you is something different. I'm telling you that there is wisdom in the timing of your testimony. There is a season for silence and a season for celebration. And the people who get those two seasons confused are the ones who keep losing what God keeps giving. Let me show you what I mean with something closer to home. Imagine a man who finally gets the promotion he's been praying about for 3 years. The raise that's going to change everything for his family. He's been faithful. He's tithed when it didn't make sense. He's prayed over that job in the parking lot before walking in. And now it's here. And what's the first thing he wants to do? He wants to tell everybody. He wants to post it. He wants to walk into the next family gathering and let everyone see that God came through. And I understand that. I do. There's nothing wrong with gratitude. There's nothing wrong with a testimony given in the right spirit at the right time. But here's what he doesn't see. He doesn't see the brother-in-law who's been struggling and now feels small every time this man speaks. He doesn't see the friend whose own prayers haven't been answered yet and whose heart quietly hardens a little. He doesn't see that some of the people clapping the loudest are the same ones who go home and start to talk. And before long, there's a strange pressure on that blessing. Suddenly, everyone has an opinion about how he should spend it. Suddenly, there are people who need to borrow. Suddenly, the thing that came to bless his house is being pulled in 15 directions, and the peace that came with it is gone. He didn't lose the money to a thief in the night. He lost the piece of it to 100 small hands that reached for what they saw. This is why God says quiet. Because some things are not ready to be touched by other people yet. Some seeds are still underground, and if you dig them up to show everyone that they're growing, you kill them. There's a reason a mother doesn't announce a pregnancy in the first few weeks. There's a reason a wise farmer doesn't walk the neighbors through his field the day after he plants. The most vulnerable moment of any blessing is the moment right after it arrives, when it's still tender, still rooting, still becoming what it's going to be. And in that moment, the most loving thing you can do for the blessing and for yourself is to cover it. I think about Mary, the mother of Jesus. When the shepherds came and told her everything the angels had said about her son, the Bible gives us this line that I have never been able to forget. It says, "She kept all these things and pondered them in her heart." She didn't run through the streets announcing it. She didn't gather a crowd. She took the most extraordinary news any woman has ever received, and she held it, quietly, inside, where the enemy couldn't get to it, and the crowd couldn't touch it. She treasured it. There is a holiness in treasuring something instead of broadcasting it. And here's where it gets real, because I think a lot of us were never taught this. We were taught that if you don't testify loudly, you're not grateful. We were taught that silence means doubt. But that's backwards. Sometimes the loudest faith is the one that doesn't need an audience. Sometimes the person with the deepest trust in God is the one who can hold a blessing in their hands and not feel the need to prove it to anyone. They don't need the validation. They already have the validator. Think about Joseph for a moment. Young Joseph, with his dreams. God gave him visions of his future, of a day when he would rise so high that even his own family would bow to him. And what did Joseph do? He told them. He announced the dream. And what happened? His brothers, eaten up with envy, threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery. Now here's the thing. The dream still came true. God's plan for Joseph was bigger than Joseph's mistake. But that boy spent 13 years in slavery and in prison, partly because he announced a blessing that wasn't ready to be seen. He showed the enemy the target before he had the maturity to protect it. And I wonder how many of us have done the same thing. Not with a coat of many colors, but with a paycheck, with a plan, with a dream we couldn't wait to broadcast. And we watched it get thrown in a pit. And we wondered where God went. But God never left. We just handed the enemy a map. By the time Joseph rose to power in Egypt, he was a different man. A man who had learned to hold things. A man who could stand in front of the brothers who betrayed him, and weep, and forgive, and provide for them. The years of silence didn't punish Joseph. They prepared him. They built the man who could finally carry the weight of the blessing without it crushing him or being stolen from him. That's what the quiet seasons do. They don't withhold your blessing. They build the version of you that can hold it. There are messages that pass through your eyes, and there are messages that pass through your spirit. If something in you recognized itself while watching, don't dismiss it. That is the Spirit confirming what was already written. The secret protocol carries 7 keys that unveil what heaven deposited in you before you ever arrived, things no one around you has ever been able to name. It comes with the full audiobook for your moments of prayer, silence, and encounter with God. And you also receive the awakening map, the guide that illuminates the 5 seasons of spiritual awakening, revealing with precision exactly where you are and what comes next. The link is pinned in the first comment, but only for a limited time. Don't let this moment pass without a response. Let me take you to another story, because the Bible doesn't hide from us how ugly envy can get. There was a man named Naboth, an ordinary man. He had a vineyard, nothing grand, just a piece of land that had been in his family for generations. His father had worked that soil. His grandfather. It was his inheritance, the thing God had given his bloodline to keep. Now next door to that little vineyard lived a king. King Ahab, a man who had everything: palaces, armies, gold, power. And one day Ahab looked over his fence at Naboth's vineyard and decided he wanted it. He went to Naboth and offered to buy it, or to trade him an even better piece of land. And Naboth said no. Not out of stubbornness, out of reverence. He said, "The Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers." This wasn't just real estate to Naboth. It was sacred. It was what God had entrusted to his family. And here's where it turns dark. Ahab went home and sulked like a child. The most powerful man in the kingdom, with more than he could ever use, lying on his bed, refusing to eat, all because one ordinary man had something he wanted and wouldn't give it up. And his wife Jezebel, she looked at her pouting husband and she said, "Are you not the king? Let me handle this." And she arranged for lies to be told about Naboth, false witnesses, a sham trial. And they took that innocent man outside the city, and they killed him. And Ahab walked down and took possession of the vineyard he had coveted. Now I want you to sit with this. Naboth didn't lose his inheritance because he did anything wrong. He lost it, and his life, because someone with power looked over the fence and could not stand that he had it. That's the spirit you're up against. It is not reasonable. It does not need what you have. It is provoked by the simple fact that you have it. And the moment Naboth's vineyard became visible to the wrong eyes, it was marked. Don't ever assume that because you've done nothing wrong, no one will come for what's yours. The thief doesn't ask whether you deserve it. He only notices that you have it. Which is exactly why God, in His mercy, will sometimes tell you to lower the fence on what He's given you, not because the gift is shameful, but because the wrong eyes are always looking over fences. Now let me tell you something that took me years to understand. The enemy is not creative. He doesn't have to be. He has one job, and he does it the same way over and over, because it keeps working. His job is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Jesus said that plainly. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But Jesus didn't stop there. He said, I have come that they may have life, and have it abundantly. So you've got two forces moving around your blessing at all times. One wants to take it. One wants to multiply it. And the question is never whether the thief is interested in what God gave you. The thief is always interested. The question is whether you're going to make his job easy or hard. And here's the part that convicts me every time I think about it. The enemy doesn't usually break in. He gets invited. He comes through the door we leave open, through the conversation we shouldn't have had, through the boast we couldn't resist, through the photo, the post, the offhand comment to the wrong person about how good things are going right now. We think we're just sharing. He hears an address. I'm not saying live in fear. I'm saying live in wisdom. There's a verse in Proverbs that says the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Prudence isn't fear. Prudence is just having your eyes open. It's understanding that not everyone in the room is rooting for you, and that's okay. You don't have to expose yourself to everyone to prove you're not afraid. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you found water in the desert, a spring. Fresh, clean, life-giving water in the middle of a place where everything else is dying. Now, what do? Do you climb to the top of the nearest hill and announce to everyone for miles that there's water here, or do you quietly build around it, protect it, and let the people God sends to you drink from it? Because here's the truth. If you announce it, you don't just attract the thirsty, you attract the thieves. And the thieves don't want to share your spring. They want to own it. They want to fence it off. They want to take the thing God gave you to bless your family and turn it into the thing that drains you dry. The blessing was never the problem. The exposure was. And I want to speak to somebody right now who's been carrying guilt about this. Maybe you did announce it. Maybe you did show everyone. Maybe you watched something good slip away, and you've been blaming yourself ever since. I want you to hear me. God is not finished. The same God who gave Joseph the dream let him lose it, and then gave it back bigger than before. Your mistake did not cancel God's plan. It may have delayed it. It may have cost you a season. But the God who multiplies is not done multiplying just because you stumbled. What he's asking of you now is different. He's asking you to learn, to let this be the last time you hand the enemy a map, to understand that the next thing he gives you, you're going to cover. You're going to treasure it like Mary did. You're going to plant it like Isaac did. You're going to hold it until it's strong enough to be seen. There's something else I need you to understand about why quiet matters, and it's deeper than protection from people. It's about your own heart. When a blessing comes and you immediately run to show it, something happens inside you. The blessing stops being between you and God, and it becomes about you and your audience. You start needing the reaction. You start measuring the gift by how impressed everyone is. And slowly, without realizing it, the source of your joy shifts. It used to be gratitude to God. Now it's the applause of people. And that's a dangerous place to be. Because people are fickle. And the same crowd that cheers you today will be silent tomorrow. And then where's your joy? But when you hold a blessing quietly, when you keep it between you and the one who gave it, something else happens. Your gratitude deepens. Your relationship with God grows. The gift stays connected to the giver. And you find yourself thanking him in private, in a way you never could in public. The quiet doesn't just protect the blessing from thieves. It protects your heart from becoming the kind of heart that needs an audience more than it needs God. And let me make this practical, because I'm not talking about some abstract spiritual principle that lives only in church. I'm talking about your kitchen table. I'm talking about the family text thread. I'm talking about the moment your check clears and your thumb is hovering over the screen, ready to tell the world. I've watched good people, faithful people, church people get a financial breakthrough, and within a week the whole dynamic of their family had shifted. Suddenly, the cousin who never called is calling. Suddenly there's a friend with a business idea and just one small favor to ask. Suddenly the people who were never around when things were hard are very, very present now that things are good. And the blessing that was supposed to bring rest brought a kind of low-grade war into their home. None of those people showed up because they wanted to celebrate. They showed up because something was announced, and the announcement traveled, and it reached ears that God never intended to hear it. That's not paranoia. That's just what happens when you set your harvest out on the front lawn. The deer come, the crows come, the neighbors come, and you spend the whole season defending what you should have just quietly brought inside. So bring it inside. Let your right hand not know what your left hand is doing. Let your giving and your getting both happen in the secret place, where the Father who sees in secret rewards you. That's not me being clever, that's almost word for word what Jesus taught. The reward is connected to the secrecy, not because God is hiding you, but because He's protecting the reward. Think about how Jesus lived. Over and over in the Gospels, He would do something miraculous, heal someone, set someone free, and then He'd say, "Don't tell anyone." He healed the leper and said, "See that you say nothing to anyone." He raised a little girl from the dead and gave strict orders that no one should know about it. Why? The Son of God, with the most powerful testimony in human history, telling people to keep quiet? Because He understood timing. He understood that some things, announced too early, attract the wrong attention and accomplish the wrong thing. He was protecting His mission. He was protecting the work. There was a season coming when everything would be shouted from the rooftops, but it wasn't yet. And the wisdom to know the difference between the silent season and the shouting season is one of the most spiritually mature things a person can ever develop. So how do you know? How do you know when to keep quiet and when to testify? Here's what I've learned. You keep quiet when the blessing is still becoming, when it's new, when it's tender, when it could still be shaken. You keep quiet when the people around you can't handle it yet, when your testimony would wound more than it would heal. And you keep quiet when you sense, in your spirit, that gentle nudge that says, "Not yet, this one's between us." And you testify when the blessing is established, when it's rooted so deep that no one's opinion can shake it, when God Himself releases you to speak, and you can tell the story not to impress anyone, but to point them to the same God who can do it for them too. There's a season for the secret place, and a season for the rooftop. The wise learn to tell them apart. I keep coming back to that word the Bible uses for Mary. She pondered, she treasured, she kept these things in her heart. There's an intimacy in that word. A blessing held in the heart belongs to you and God in a way that a blessing announced to the world never can. It becomes a private altar, a secret between you and heaven. And there's a sweetness in that secret that no amount of public recognition could ever match. Some of you are in a quiet season right now, and you've been interpreting it as God's silence, as God forgetting you, as nothing happening. And I want to challenge that. What if the quiet isn't absence? What if the quiet is the most active God has ever been in your life? What if right now, underground, in the dark, in the place where no one can see, He is growing the very thing you've been praying for, and the only reason you can't see it yet is that it isn't ready to be exposed. Don't dig it up to check on it. Don't announce it before it's ready. Don't let the enemy take a picture of the target. Stay in the quiet. Stay faithful in the famine, like Isaac. Treasure it in your heart, like Mary. Hold the dream until you're strong enough to carry it, like Joseph learned to. And watch what God does with something that's been properly protected. Because the blessings that last are almost never the ones that were loud. They're the ones that were guarded, covered, held in reverent, grateful, holy silence until the day God Himself said, "Now. Now you can speak. Now it's ready. Now nothing can take it from you." Because it's no longer a seed, it's a tree. And trees don't get stolen the way seeds do. So here's what I want to ask you, and I want you to be specific, because this is between you and God and the people walking this road with you in the comments. I don't want a general answer. I want one moment. Tell me about one time you stayed quiet about something God gave you and watched it grow. Or, if you're brave enough, tell me about the one time you announced something too soon and watched it slip away. One moment. One sentence. Be honest. Because somebody reading your story is standing at that exact crossroads right now, deciding whether to broadcast or to cover. And your one sentence might be the thing that protects their harvest. And remember, everything I spoke about goes deeper inside the secret protocol, pinned in the first comment. The 7 keys, the audiobook, and the awakening map are there waiting for you whenever you're ready to take the next step.